In 1118, 9 knights arrived in Jerusalem from Europe. Their leader was a French knight named Hugues de Payens. They presented themselves to Baudouin, the king of Jerusalem. "We are the poor knights of Christ, dedicated to the defense of Jerusalem and the safety of the pilgrimage route. We swear that from now on, we will not acquire any personal property. We will live a life of poverty, and we will make every effort to preserve the glory of Christianity here and the safety of our pilgrim brothers and sisters." Pleased with their dedication, the king of Jerusalem granted the knights permission to use the Temple of Solomon as their base. Thus, the Knights Templar was founded, which would become an ancient order. Founded by 9 knights as a religious and military order, it initially lacked financial resources and relied entirely on donations. The emblem of the order, 2 knights riding the same horse, symbolized this simplicity and poverty. For years, the Knights Templar conducted mysterious activities in the Temple of Solomon, their base, and began to grow rapidly with new recruits. The mystical aura of the order attracted many European nobles. The Templars became so popular that knights and nobles from all over Europe joined the order. As per the rules of the order, they left all their assets to the organization instead of their families. Less than 11 years after their founding, on January 13, 1129, the Knights Templar were recognized by the papacy as the Army of God after their leaders visited the Vatican and met with Pope Innocentius II. The Pope issued a special decree granting unprecedented privileges to members of the Knight Templar Order. According to this decree, the knights would be able to pass freely through country borders, would be exempt from taxation, and would not be accountable to any authority other than the Pope. With the support of the Pope, European nobles competed to provide money, land, and soldiers to the Knights Templars. Thus, they quickly became one of the most successful military, commercial, and financial organizations of the Middle Ages. Organized all over the Middle East and Europe, they soon built many castles, farms, churches, as well as a fleet of both merchant and warships. Over time, they became not only renowned warriors but also powerful merchants, bankers, and financiers. The Knights Templar were mainly divided into 3 classes: knights, sergeants, scribes, and priests. Knights were chosen strictly from among nobility and were initiated into the order after special rituals. Sergeants might not be nobles but were carefully selected from among free men. The scribes and priests were auxiliary staff who performed duties according to their knowledge and skills. However, people from none of these classes made up most of the organization's numbers. There were many people with almost every qualification providing logistical support. There were prerequisites for candidates to be accepted into the Templar organization. They must not be sick or disabled. They must be single. They must not be in debt. They must not be affiliated with any other sect. They must obey absolutely in all circumstances. They must agree to be a slave of the sect. One condition was a vow of poverty. Each member had to leave all his or her assets to the sect. Most members of the order were French knights, but there were also a significant number of English, Norman, and to a lesser extent, Portuguese, German, and Spanish members. The Knights Templar were always led by a knight of French origin. This knight, known as the Grand Master, was elected by a committee of 13 and served for life. The Grand Master was endowed with unlimited authority. Once elected to office, his orders and decisions could not be questioned. As the best trained soldiers of the Crusaders, the Knights Templar had a reputation for almost suicidal acts of bravery. Despite their small numbers, they were superior warriors armed with fine armor. To promote and protect the warrior nature of their organization, they had set special rules. For example, they were forbidden to retreat during battles unless outnumbered 3 times over. They swore an oath that they would always be the first to enter and the last to leave the battlefield. After a while, the Knights Templar became so wealthy that European kings borrowed money from them, and the entire European economy became dependent on this organization. This allowed them to manipulate kings as they wished. But after about a century, things began to change for the Knights Templar. A commander like Saladin Ayyubi emerged and managed to unite Muslims under the Ayyubid state. Under Saladin Ayyubi's command, Muslims began to win one victory after another against the Crusaders. Jerusalem was recaptured from Christians in 1187, especially after their power was broken after the Battle of Hittin. With the loss of Jerusalem, the Knights Templar had to move their headquarters to North Acre. The members of the order lost their headquarters in Acre in 1291 and had to return to Europe and settle in France. In fact, the order had outlived its usefulness. There was no reason for the Knights Templar, who had gathered in the Holy City for a specific purpose, to continue their existence in France. However, the Knights paid no taxes and were not subject to anyone other than the Pope. But as an extremely wealthy and armed force, they had become a significant threat to both the King of France and the Church. Eventually, this situation disturbed King Philip IV of France, who owed a great deal of money to the order. Finally, with support from both the Pope and the people, he succeeded in arresting the members of the order on October 13, 1307, on charges such as spitting on the cross, denying Prophet Jesus, heresy, and blasphemy. All their properties in Europe were confiscated by state. Many were imprisoned, tried in Inquisition courts, excommunicated from the church, and tortured to death. Jacques de Molay, 23rd and last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, was executed by burning at the stake in 1318. Thus ended the world's oldest order, whose true secrets are still unsolved and whose priceless treasures have never been found. But many believe that some Knights Templar who survived the massacre continue to exist secretly under a different name till today. Even the French Revolution, which took place centuries later, allegedly organized by the Knights Templar as revenge against the royal family of France, supports these views. On the morning of January 21, 1793, after French King Louis XVI was beheaded by the guillotine, a man from the crowd jumped up on the platform, raised the disembodied head of the king and shouted, "Jacques de Molay, you have been avenged." Today it is said that the Knights Templar lives on, not as a relic of the past, but as a force pulsating in the undercurrents of our present day. Over 1,700 groups across the globe claim to be their successors, their deeds ranging from noble acts of charity to more shadowy undertakings.